in 2011, we sort of came up with this vision for the future about doubling the turnover.
Did you hit that kind of 5-year target?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And did you exceed that target?
Yeah. After the first 5 years, we've doubled, and then since that 5 year, we had another plan, and we've doubled again. I guess this machine would work 18 or 19 hours straight through.
Okay.
A day.
Has that been a game changer?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Today, MTD have visited FB Chain. Now I'm with Peter Church, MD of the company. Now Peter, thank you very much for having us on site today.
That's good.
Peter, before we start, for our audience, can you tell our audience what you do and what you make?
Okay, so we're basically a leaf chain company, and leaf chain's used on forklift trucks and other types of lifting equipment. So we supply leaf chain, but our uniqueness is we supply it ready to fit onto a machine. So we don't just supply the chain, we supply what we call a chain anchor that fixes it into the machine, and we deliver it as a package direct to the production line, so the customer doesn't have to spend any time assembling it or cutting it or preparing it.
When did the business start?
So we've been in the UK since 1985, but we're actually linked up with a Scandinavian company that's been trading since the early 1900s. But in the UK here, we've been here since 1985.
Now today we're here on behalf of First MTA to look at the load assistant from HALTER, but also the Kitagawa Rotary Table that's inside the machine. Mm-hmm. Before you had this technology, how did you used to make the components?
So we used to have some old bridge ports, and we used to have a bank of single indexers. At one point we had up to 8 indexers on a machine. We had an operator that would stand there for the shift, just loading the parts in, pressing the button, machining 8 and then unloading them. So it was a very manual process really.
And when did you take over the business?
So I've actually worked for the company for 22 years. I had a little bit of sabbatical in the middle, but I've been the managing director since 2010, 2011.
Now you told me prior to this interview that you had a 5-year plan to double the turnover of the company. How was this achieved?
So in 2011, we sort of came up with this vision for the future about doubling the turnover. And then that really drove looking at what we were doing, how many parts we were making, what storage we needed, what sort of building we needed. And it really became apparent that if we were going to double, we needed to make double the amount of components. I know it sounds a bit basic, but we would double the amount of components we make. So how are we going to do that? And then we started looking at extra shifts and extra machines. And I think even at that point, finding a whole extra shift or 2 shifts to run days and nights permanently was just going to be impossible. We were already struggling to fill up sort of a single shift with overtime. So finding 2 other shifts, if you like, was just never going to be practical. So we really started to think about how we could automate the process.
And what was the solution? I'm assuming it was the HALTER
Yeah,
system.
so we looked around. We had this thought that can we load the indexers that we're using? So we had these 8 indexers, and we thought, our first thought is, could we teach a robot to load the indexers instead of using a person? And so we looked around and solutions for robots and things, and it was just really, really expensive. And but after we did some research, we came across HALTER, who was based in Holland, and it looked like it was like a plug and play system, and it looked, well, this is simple. We had some conversations with them. The price was much more realistic. We flew over to see one working in Germany, which was 2014, and pretty much bought it on the spot.
Wow. And how many systems have you got now in this fantastic facility?
So we've got 6 now, and we're just ordering a 7th.
Right, let's talk about the system then and how it's changed your business. So first question, did you hit that kind of 5-year target?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And did you exceed that target?
Yeah. So after the first 5 years, we've doubled, and then since that 5 year, we had another plan, and we've doubled again.
Wow.
So,
and where's this new work going? Why are you why have you got the need for this extra capacity?
I think a lot of people are interested in the solution that the chain and the parts arrive in a kit ready to use. Some of the kits we produce have, say, 70 or 80 components. Well, if a customer was managing those, they'd need a lot of resources. So I think over the years, people have become more and more interested in our solution, which is this chain kits. So that's really been driving a lot of the growth. And we have a customer in Italy, we've got a customer in Turkey, we even send chain kits out to America. So,
Wow, so the business is certainly growing.
yeah.
Now, let's talk about the technology. Now,
Yeah.
let's start with the grid plates.
Yeah.
You know, what kind of flexibility do you get for the different variants of components that you're manufacturing?
So initially the machine comes with 4 or 5 sets of grids, and when we did the first machines there was only a fixed amount of grids that came, but we did some work with HALTER and then we customised some grids and increased the capacity up. And I think now it's pretty much as the latest machines, you basically tell them what the size of the parts you're going to handle and they customise the grids for you. So we started off with just 68 parts on a grid, and the one that's running in behind us has got 209 parts on the grid, twice.
So what kind of unmanned running does that give you as a company?
Well, this job here is running at 2 or 3 minutes each, and you can load the second side. I guess this machine would work 18 or 19 hours straight through.
A day?
A day.
Has that been a game changer?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Now, in regards to programming and
Yeah.
the simplicity of programming, I'm sure you must have incurred some obstacles when introducing automation into this facility.
Yeah.
How easy was it to make the transition into automation?
Yeah, I think you have to change the way you think a little bit, but actually the HALTER system itself is really easy. Within 10 or 20 minutes, if you've got a basic understanding, you program. You tell it the diameter and the length of the part that you're loading, and you tell it the diameter and the length that's coming out of the machine, and the robot does it all for you, really.
And the operators and the setter operators that were previously manning the machines, how did they feel about the automation? How did they adopt the automation?
I don't suppose anybody really loves change at the beginning, but I think a lot of them saw that the boring bit of the job, which is the loading and unloading, just disappeared from some stuff, and then they could do stuff with programming and process engineering. So I think in the end they've been really, really well received.
So you've upskilled the previous personnel.
Yeah.
So let's now move on to the inside of the machine. I see that you're also using a Kitagawa Rotary Table that's also been supplied from First MTA.
Yep.
Can you tell me a little bit about your considerations when choosing this particular rotary table?
So we'd had rotary tables before on the old Bridgeports, but when we did this project we looked around, and it's really important to get the right partner, because you've got to have the machine, the indexer, the robot all talking together. And actually we felt that Kitagawa and First MTA were just better at that integration and working together. The units are just very, very reliable, you know, from everything we see. I mean, the one that we installed in 2014 is probably opened and closed and spun probably 3 million times, and they've just had a bit of a big overhaul, but they're pretty much faultless.
So accuracy, repeatability, not Mr. B?
No.
Well, you can't really get better than that. My final question, Peter, why did you name that robot Rachel?
They're all the robots are named after robots from fiction. So, and Rachel, we really struggled. After we got a few, you get Robbie the robot was nice and easy, but Rachel was from Blade Runner, and I don't think she knows she's a robot. So that was why we were just looking for other robot names.
Peter, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.